Hello everyone. Uh, in this video, we're going to cover the next topic in the first unit, which is formulation of a research problem. Okay, so one of the important topic, and while doing the research, the steps will help you a lot, in getting down to the perfect research problem that is good for you or which is feasible, and which chooses your area of knowledge, all these things. Okay, so now formulation of a research problem. Okay, one of the most difficult phases of any research project is the choice of a suitable problem. Okay, so how to choose a research problem? Okay, so that is a very, very important step, the first step in getting into any of the research. Okay, now it may take time to select this research problem, and it is advisable that the selection should not be taken in haste. Okay, so haste is nothing but very quick decisions. Well, while selecting the research problem, you should not be in a hurry and select the research problem. Very simple. While reading a lot of books, you might jump onto a conclusion that there is a gap between the knowledge up in the book. Okay, so that doesn't, after you jump onto the conclusion, you might take it as a research problem. But here the problem is the author might not be aware of that bridge between the knowledge, and he might have, that is why he is not mentioned in that particular book. Okay, so it depends upon the knowledge of the author also that you are reading the book. So whenever you see a research problem, a gap between the knowledge, then you should go on to uh, searching or literature review is a very, very important step, where go on to the previous research work that has done on that particular topic or area of knowledge, go through it a lot, and then come to a conclusion that this is a completely unexplored area, so that I can do some research. Okay, so that is how you are supposed to select the research problem. Not very easily, reading the books simply and just selecting the research problem and then directly going into the first step of the research. No, so before that you have got a lot of steps. So selecting the research problem, or nothing but the formulation of a research problem, is what is a crucial step up in here. Okay, so next is every problem which comes to your mind or even suggested by an experienced person may at times not to be a fit research problem. Okay, not to be a fit research problem means what happens is, for example, you don't have that much of funding to the research. Okay, so you have less funding, so choose your research problem according to the funding that is available. Okay, choose the research problem that you can find, you can collect the data very easily. Okay, choose a research problem. Okay, so that it not should not take a long time. Okay, so as a researcher, I'm like what do I call, fresher in research should always go on to the feasible research problem, so that in terms of funding, in terms of time, in terms of data collection, all these things have to be kept in mind while deciding or formulation of a research problem. Okay, okay, so that is what it is talking about. Okay, so the other points explains the importance of a formulation of is the research. Okay, sorry, formulation of research, right? Next we'll see delimitations of of the research. Okay, so delimitations are nothing but are those characteristics that limit the scope and define the boundaries of the study. Very simple. Delimitations are nothing but the things which are in the control of a researcher. Okay, the boundaries of a research. Okay, for example, in the research that you're doing, you might have chosen the sample size, for 10, okay, for 10 people, or 10 is a quantity, okay. So that is your, that is your boundary of the research. And for the coming researchers with the same topic, with the selection of same topic, you suggest them to go on, selecting 20, 30, 40 sample size, okay. So that is what, the best example for the boundaries of the research or delimitations of the research, okay. So very simply, to keep it very simple, delimitations are nothing but the things which are in the control of a researcher, or the boundaries of a research, okay, of a research study. So that is what it talks about, okay. So you can go through a lot of explanation given up here. I'm just giving you the very basic, you know, um, no, idea of delimitations. Or in this video, or in all the videos, I'll just give you the clear idea of the meaning of all the headings that are there. Later on, it's your responsibility, it's your job to go through in detail about that particular topic, okay. So this is about delimitations. Next comes limitations, okay. So limitations are nothing but are potential weaknesses in your study, and are out of your control, okay. So delimitations are nothing but the things which are in the control of a researcher, are the boundaries of the research study, right. Now when it comes to limitations, the things which are in our control, okay. So let me give you a clear example, so that it will be very easy for you. For example, you are conducting a study on giving carbohydrates. Okay, so there are carbohydrates. Now what happened is, you are giving to a sample size, you are giving different amounts, or any particular size of the size of the meal which involved more carbohydrates, okay. Now you can control the amount of carbohydrates given to the athlete or the sample, okay, or the participant, but you cannot control the uh, digestion process, or of the participant, right. So here participant is there, okay. So you can control the quantity, that is digestion process, sorry. You can control the carbs quantity, but you cannot control the digestion process. Now, when we are talking about quantity of the carbs, that comes under limitations, okay. So you can control, either you're going to give 100 grams, 200 grams of the carbohydrates, or if you're going to give 500 grams of the carbohydrate. That depends upon the researcher. That is the limitation of the, that is limited to the researcher, okay. So that is controlled by the researcher. Now when it comes to digestion process, is considered as a delimitation, okay. Now you will never ever know how how much fast or quick a person can digest any particular nutrient, okay, particularly carbohydrates, okay. So digestion process comes under, it is very much different from one person to the other. For example, if you got 10 persons in the 10 participants in the sample, then what happens? Each and every person's digestion process is very, very different, okay. So that is considered as a delimitation in the study, of the study. Okay, research study. Okay, that is a, so that is the best example of delimitation and limitation. Okay, now let us continue. I think we are finished with the first unit, with the last topic. Now let us get into the next unit, which has which discuss about the methods of research, or you can call it as the types of research also. In the view of considering the need of physical education in the society. Okay, so always when you're talking about physical education and sports sciences, you will always have a, you should always consider the need of physical education or sports sciences onto the society or onto the sports world. Okay, so how it affects, that you have to always keep that in mind. So according to this, there are five different types of research is discussed here. As you can see, the first one is historical research. Okay, next one is philosophical research, and third one is descriptive research, and fourth one is experimental research. Okay, and the last one is correlation research. Now let us see one by one. We'll go one by one. Let's see the first one. What is historical research? Okay, so as you can see, very simple. Historical, history, as something we dug deep into the research, or into the past events of the research, sorry, past events of the history, and try to analyze the events, or try to judge, sometimes judge the events, or judge the situations, right? So that is historical research. Any research study that takes uh, the past events as a criteria and studies them or research on them is nothing but the historical research. Okay, so information about the past events. History is information about the past events, aims to complete understanding of the part. It aims to completely or tries to understand the best about the past events. Okay, history is nothing but the past. What makes the present and what goes before is key to what comes after. Okay, so what he here he is trying to make a point is, okay, as you can see, it's a bit tricky to understand. Okay, so what this point means is, like, uh, why do you have to look into research? Okay, why do you need to study the historical research, or why you have to dig into the past events and do some research on that, on those situations? What do you think is that? Is it necessary? Just leave the past, and do some research on the future, which will help you a lot, right? So never ever think in that way. Okay, as which is a very foolish thing to do, because always learn from history. When you go look deep into the history, or the past events, you learn a lot of things, how the phenomenon of any event or a situation, or the process of any event or situation, you'll understand it way much better when you dig into it, when you do some research or in the of the past events or the situations. Okay, then you analyze the present. What happens? Then you analyze the present, and try to predict for the future. Okay, so in the history, this is what happened. If they did this, this is what happened. Now in the present, this is the situation. Now if you do the same thing for the next few years, this is going to be the future. Okay, so that is how, that is what the point is, trying to explain us. Okay, now history to understand the origin, growth, development, and present status of any field. Okay, so these are the three things that history makes us understand. Historical research uses historical documents, accounts, other dates with great care, evaluates and records them. Okay, now there were a few definitions given up here. You can read it. I'm not going to make a lengthy video with dragging up these definitions for you. You can read it for yourself as it is available. Okay. Now, sources of historical research. This is a very, very crucial thing, because all the research relies on how the data is collected. What are the sources of data? Okay. We call them as sources of data is very, very, very important. Okay, very, very, very important in terms of collecting the data, in the historical research. This completely shapes the research study. Okay, so that is why you have to be very, very careful. Now, method of data collection for historical research is of two different types: primary sources and secondary sources. Let us see what are primary sources. What are the examples given up here? Okay, direct or first-hand sources of information, original material. Okay, direct reporting, direct recording of experiences. Okay, now these are the best examples of primary sources. Okay, on the first hand, okay, what are the first hand sources, are we call it as primary sources. Now let us take for example any book, for example Ramayana. Okay, so let us take Ramayana. Okay, so as we all know, Ramayana is written by Valmiki, right? So, as let us forget the topic, whether it is true or false, whether it happened or not. Let us keep all those things aside. Now, the very first book that is, that known to mankind on Ramayana is written by Valmiki. I don't know whether, I am not aware whether there were existing books of Ramayana before the author of Valmiki, before the Valmiki Ramayana. I don't know. I'm not commenting on that. But I'm just giving an example to make you understand what is primary sources. Okay. Now, if you take Ramayana, it is written by Valmiki, the very first source, right? Now, if as you know, there were many other Ramayanas written by author one, for example, author 1, author 2, author 3. Okay, so now there are 4 books on Ramayana. This is the first one, first, second, third, fourth. Okay, now what happens here is the first source is, or the first book is considered as always the primary source. Okay, as you can see, Valmiki Ramayana is considered as the primary source. Now, any other Ramayana book written by author 1, author 2, author 3, these all become the next source, that we call it as secondary source. Okay, so all these 3 together we call them as secondary sources. So the primary source is nothing, the very first thing, the very first written material, original material is nothing but primary source. Okay, and later on, whatever the copies that have been made from the original source are called as the secondary sources. As you can see here, there are many examples given here: official records, personal records, oral statements, published material, printed material. All these things comes under primary sources. Now, secondary sources, as I told you, if here it is given, book on Dhyan Chand, book on Gandhi or Ramayana. Now, what happened here is, book on Dhyan Chand, if it is written by Dhyan Chand himself, then we call it as a primary source. Now, if many of the other people writing about Dhyan Chand, okay, that becomes the secondary source. It's a bit tricky again here. Okay, if Dhyan Chand didn't write him, the biography of his own, then if anybody wrote on Dhyan Chand, then that also becomes the primary source. Okay, so stick to the example that I gave up here. So this is the best example that you can rely on to understand the primary and the secondary sources. Okay. Okay. Next is historical criticism. Okay. So historical criticism is nothing but evaluation of historical material. Now, here what happens is, as I told you, there might be enormous, lot of books written on one particular aspect. For example, on Gandhi, there are on an average, let us take an example, 50 books. Okay, so if you are as a researcher studying about the ideology of Gandhi, or the regular practices of Gandhi, so what do you do? What do you do is very simple thing. Going through 50 books. Now it's a bit difficult task. Now after going through 50 books also, it is not you might not be sure that you will be getting the real information about Gandhi, right? So how to rely, or how to extract the real books written on Gandhi? Now here what you do is, with the use of historical criticism, you extract, okay, or you extract the wanted or the best books, or you remove the unwanted books or the material from the from the uh, sources of data. Okay, so that is what historical criticism does. Okay, as you can see here, the process by which historical researcher weeds out the unwanted material from the collected evidences. Okay, so as you came to know, there are 50 books. You only came to know, after reading out the 50 books, you only came to know that only 3 books really looked into the Gandhi's real books are nothing but, okay, 3 books, real books here, are nothing but who observed Gandhi very, very closely, and they wrote the books. Okay, so that you can take as that you can rely on, other than the 47 books that secondary source become the secondary sources or the unwanted material, right? So that is what it does, the historical criticism. Now, historical criticism is of 2 different types again: external criticism and internal criticism. Now, external criticism, describes or explains who is the author, event, and equipment. Okay, and internal criticism talks about information worthy or reliable. Okay, now who wrote the book? As I told you, if a person who observed Gandhi very closely, he can write more, realistic or real things. He can put it in the book. When it comes to the person who have not at all seen Gandhi, or not closely observed Gandhi, or he relied on the other person's knowledge, then that becomes the secondary source, right? So here, in external criticism, you're differentiating between who has written it, whether the person who's closely observed Gandhi, or whether the person who is uh, not at all observed Gandhi. Now, information worthy or reliable. Now here also, who written afterwards, after who wrote it, Then you come into, is it worthy or is it reliable? Or the person who wrote that particular book on Gandhi, is he against Gandhi? That means he will definitely write all the bad things or the unrealistic things. I don't say it bad things, but unrealistic things which are against Gandhi. Okay, so there are chances. That is the normal human behavior which takes you into that phenomenon, right? So here, first you have to choose who is the author here. Whether he's closely observed or he's a far away read about Gandhi. And next comes who wrote the person who wrote it, whether he wrote it genuinely or realistically, or all the real things he wrote, or he wrote all the unrealistic things. Okay, so that is talked in internal criticism. Okay, so who wrote it, and whether he comes under external criticism, and whether he wrote it right or wrong, whether his perception of Gandhi is right or wrong, that is explained in the internal criticism. As you can go, there are a lot of differentiations given up here. I'm not going to very much deep into it. You can see the explanations up here. Next we'll see next we will see steps in historical research. Now this is almost all same for the all the research all the types of research or methods of research. Okay, now steps in historical research. Selection of the problem is the very first thing, of course, for everything. Next, formulation of the hypothesis. Okay, so there is alternative and there is null hypothesis again. So what you do is you formulate a hypothesis. Okay, then comes collection of data through primary and secondary sources. Next, analysis of data through internal and external criticism. As just now we have discussed about what is internal and external criticism, right? Next, conclusions in reliable form. Okay, so conclusions, what are the conclusions that you jumped in as a researcher? You'll write in a reliable form. Okay, these are the few steps that are there in historical research. Okay, next is descriptive research. Now, in descriptive research, we try to understand or try to get some knowledge about a situation or a phenomenon that has already happened. Okay, or how it is going to shape. Okay, so how the trend is going to be there. Okay, very simple. I'll just give you a best example so that you'll understand what is descriptive research. Okay, so descriptive research can explain where, when, and how. Okay, but it never explains why. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, so as a researcher, you want to go to understand the trend of a supermarket. Now what happens in the supermarket? You went down to buy some groceries. You went down to buy some things from the supermarket. Now in 100 there's 100 people in the supermarket. Now as a researcher, you're trying to understand what is the most purchased item in the supermarket. Okay, now as in the descriptive research, you can explain in the in the supermarket they're purchasing so and so item. 70%, 90% of the population is purchasing this particular item. Okay, now here you can tell where it is purchased, when it is purchased, and how it is purchased. but you cannot tell why they are purchasing that particular that particular thing, because for almost all on the population of 100, 90% of the people are purchasing a thing. You cannot each and every individual has their own different reason to buy that particular product. Okay, so by using descriptive research, you can only explain where, when, and how, but not why. Okay, so why is a very complex thing, to analyze with the help of descriptive research. Okay, so let me give one more example. Okay, so during corona there were many people who are into corona, and got out of it, right? Now after you, if you as a researcher, you want to understand the phenomenon, how psychologically they are disturbed, the people who suffered with corona got disturbed. You want to understand this phenomenon. Now what do you do? Corona affected people. So randomly you took 100 as your population. 100 is the sample size. Okay. Now what happened is, you're not at all, uh, controlling anything as we do in the experimental research. Okay, and we are not giving any situations that is already completed. The situation is already completed, the phenomena is already completed. You are just studying the effects of that phenomenon or that situation. Okay, so in descriptive research you just study the phenomena which has already happened, or you don't disturb it. Okay, so it happens as it is, you just study the trends. Okay, so that is in the samples 100 sample size, you what you came to know is a lot of people, almost 70% of the uh, population went into depression. Okay, so after after corona. Now what is the percentage when it happened, after corona, and how it happened because of corona? These all you can explain. Now why he went into depression because of corona, that you cannot explain, okay, with the use of descriptive research. Okay, so this is all about descriptive research. Uh, you'll understand a trend, a phenomena, a situation which is happening as it is. You just study it, you don't control it, or you don't intervene it. Okay, or intervene into the thing, and you just don't disturb the, you don't disturb the thing, you just study the phenomena as it is. Okay, so that is what a descriptive research is. You can see the many definitions given up here. Now depending upon the purpose, different methods are used to um, to get the data with the for the descriptive research. Okay, so the first one is survey method. The first one is survey method, and next one is case study, and the third one is genetic study. Okay, so first let us see survey method. Okay, so survey method. So what happens in survey method is, you survey method is a systematic collection, analysis, interpretation, and reporting of facts concerning some aspects of current situations. Okay, so institutions, sports, population, census, etc. Okay, census is the best example up here, which is given. Let us take the uh, census as the example now. Okay, now in survey method, to know what is the population of India, what do we do is, we take the survey method. So what happens here is, we take the total survey of the population. We count one by one, each and every individual present in the country, and we just come to a conclusion. And after this, this population census, then there is a research problem that we have chosen. Now, while using survey method, how many are happy, how many are not happy in their lives, or with their lives? Okay, so now what do we do is we simply give some questions, and okay, quality questions to understand their happiness index, whether they are having food, whether they are having having good friends and family relations in their life. Okay, with these two questions, we are questioning all the population. Now we came to know that in 100 sample size, 60% are happy and 40% are not happy. Okay, so now after we got to the census, that is nothing but the population. What we did is by giving very few questions, I just give the random questions to make you understand. But there's a whole lot of questions given to understand to understand any variable of the population. Okay, so now I gave whether they have food sufficient, and whether they have got good relations in the life. Okay, so with this I'm measuring their happiness index. Now with that two questions, I came to know that 60% of the people, or in the 100 sample size, 60% are happy and 40% are not happy. Now this is survey method. Okay, that is the best example. Now you can see here types of survey: social survey, public opinion survey, school survey, market survey. There are many different things depending on the place and everything. So the survey is divided into many different types. Okay. Now techniques of survey. So methods used to collect the data in survey method: surveys by questionnaire, surveys by interview, combination of both questionnaire and interview, normative survey. Okay, so questionnaire is, so what you do in questionnaire is so here in questionnaire, what happens is, as I told you, I give two questions up there. So not just two questions, but to understand any variable of an individual, what happens is you give a lot of many quality questions to understand that phenomena. Okay, so that is giving few questions and taking down the answers. Not the big descriptive answers, but you do just yes or no, so some kind of a agree, disagree, mostly disagree, completely agree. Okay, those kind of options. Okay, so that is a questionnaire. Okay, next comes interview. Okay, so here to understand the same any particular phenomena, you take the interview of the individual. Okay, individual or a group. Okay, so with the interview is also one of the best example for the techniques of survey, and combination of both questionnaire and survey is also one of the best example, right? And there are types of questionnaire also: closed form, open form. You can just go through it later on, and it's a very easy thing. Okay, just go through it. And merits and demerits are also given. Merits and demerits, don't get confused. Merits are benefits, and demerits are what drawbacks. Okay, so drawbacks are demerits. Okay, now interview method. Interview is a formal meeting between the interviewer and the interviewee. Okay, so they directly face to face. Okay, the interviewer and the interviewee have to meet in person to get the interview or to get the data in the data collection. Okay, and structured is there, and structured, structured is pre-planned, predetermined, highly standardized. Unstructured is no pre-planned, no predetermined. Okay, that is all about the types of interview. And next is merits and drawbacks. Demerits are also given. Okay, next is a normative survey. Okay, so normative survey is nothing but there are certain norms that you take, and you try to you select a sample, and you try to what do you say, judge the population depending on that particular norms. Okay, let us take the best example given up here: comparison between Indian children with USA children by using Cross-Weber's test. Now here, the Cross-Weber test is a fitness test. What happens is the Cross-Weber test is a norm up here. Okay, so this is the common norm. Okay, so this is a Cross-Weber test here in the example is a common norm. Okay, Indian children and USA children are the variables. So with the use of this common, common for the common norm is nothing but Cross-Weber test is same. The same test is used for both USA children and also Indian children. Okay, so the norm is same, norm is common, but the children are different, the variables are different. Okay, so that this is a normative survey, and you get some data out of this, and that is normative survey. Okay, so I'll end up this video up here. In the next video, we'll see the next topics in the second unit.